In my heart, it definitely happened. Yeah, 100%. Okay, they might be able to hear us now. So.
Wait, you didn't even start the... Oh, there we go. Oh shit. Takes a little bit.
I'm gonna share that. The whole reason I started this is so I could tweet about it, and then I could close Twitter, not worry about it.
Man, I just finished eating lunch.
Yeah, the cool story. What happened?
Empanadas, pretty good.
Oh man, lunch sounds pretty cool where you're at. Lunch sounds pretty cool where you're at. I'm like, maybe I'll have a hot dog. You know, hot dog's pretty good though.
Well, yeah. What you put on it? What's toppings?
I put on chili, Skyline chili, from Cincinnati, Ohio, and then I put on ketchup and mustard, and sometimes like onions and stuff. Yeah.
I like to put potato chips. Like here they come like in small like what do you say? It's like shredded potato chips. You can put it on top. Pretty good.
No, that sounds good though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Podcast.
I saw some animals putting like crushed Doritos on top of it. I'm like, I'll do that, man.
Yeah, that's not, yeah.
I'll do that, but I'm not a beast yet. I'm not an animal yet.
Yeah, right, exactly. You're not a heathen.
I had to descend to the.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, that's just bottom.
You have to offend God first, and then yeah. It's the Nintendogs. What are we gonna talk about? Mike's filling out the thing.
I do like food crimes.
He's gonna have us talk about Garfield too. Fantastic.
Oh,
that one's especially egregious because Bill Murray's still alive. Like, come on. It's gonna suck because if the Chris Pratt one makes like a lot more money than the Bill Murray one, they'll be like, see, whatever.
Okay. Dude, I'm gonna expose myself. I like those Garfield movies. I think they're trash, but I had a good time.
All right, let's stop. Oh, there it goes. Okay.
We rewatched them on the Giant Bomb Discord back in the day when we weren't official, so we'd watch movies there, and that was fun.
Sounds like it. Hey, Michael Minotti. Michelangelo Minotti.
That's I just finished the thing.
Yeah, I see.
Your game. You have to change the number of the episodes 18 out of 17. I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
He just lays down the law. You know, but he didn't tell me that I had to change the associated game on YouTube from Winback, so I can leave it as Winback. There was a Winback 2 in 2006, according to this YouTube library thing. I should look into that. But I wonder if it ever came out.
Winback is coming back.
Winback 2, Project Poseidon, 2006.
I don't even know how that game looks like.
I mean, I know what Winback looks like. I mean, honestly, Winback might be the only game that I truly know what it looks like. But Winback 2, no idea. Probably like Gears of War. Was that 2000? No, that's too early for Gears of War. So, all right, whatever.
Oh, man. Been playing a lot of Age of Empires 4. That shit is lit.
Yeah, everyone who's playing it seems to really like it.
Oh, it's so good.
I haven't had time yet.
I played like 3 hours in a row and didn't even realize last night. I was like, what the fuck?
Right, yeah, I totally know that once I started, I'll get into a session like that. And I want to play Inscription, and I want to play... I got a review game. But yeah, so it's like, okay, I'll try to get to that before the end of the year.
Yeah. Age of Empires 4 looks great. It's a pretty game. It's weird because it's not like super detailed, but it still looks. Still is pretty game.
Okay, I've tweeted.
You
Okay.
tweeted.
I've tweeted.
A couple questions just came in the last second. Let me add these, and
Got
then
the
I actually
music
have to edit
ready?
something real quick.
Yeah, I tested it actually on Discord first. Let's make sure it's working in OBS. Let's actually bring up OBS where it needs to go. Up here.
Wrong music.
Oh, I heard that is the wrong music.
Yeah, but it's working. That's key.
That's good. That is good, Jeff. Yes.
Hey,
Good job.
you got
Here we go.
Are we live?
Yeah, we are.
Good. Let me tell you all how I really feel. There's going to be some changes around here.
Oh no.
Oh shit.
I'm tired of holding back.
Oh no. Gonna go full reactionary.
Yeah.
Most of this podcast is gonna be advertising Alpha Brain. Welcome to the Alpha Brain Hour.
We're gonna own all the.
Listen out, all you soy boys. Look out. We're all on the
no.
Alpha Brain now. And
Listen to me, brother.
what's the number one ingredient in Alpha Brain? Well, it's soy, but we're gonna ignore that.
Do people still call people soy boys?
Yes. It just
Yes.
happened the other day.
No.
Yeah.
To
And
you.
not even to me. Like someplace I was like in someone's chat for watching their podcast live, and they're like, lots of soy boys here, and I actually had the power to block them, so I did. I'm
Nice.
like,
Good job, Jeff.
Like, get the fuck out of here, you loser! Can't believe it's 2021. You're still saying that? My God.
I started
right.
blocking all NFT shit.
Good luck with that. I'd
Hey,
have to block valuable coworkers if I did that.
Oh, bro.
Oh man.
They are so ugly. Why are NFTs so ugly? I don't know why.
I mean, it's
I know
just-
I should be mad about the environment and how it's coming all of this, but every time I see it, that shit is so ugly. What
It's
the
just some
fuck?
We actually have
shitty
somebody-
garbage pail kids. That's all it is. It's just like the
We actually have
shittiest garbage pail
somebody
kids.
asking us about NFTs this week, so we get to talk about that.
Oh goody.
Oh,
Yeah.
can we not? Thank you for the question, man.
Oh gosh, maybe a little. Everyone's been talking about it so much.
I
It's,
guess
I'm
you-
just.
It's
I guess
impossible to ignore.
I
It's just
resisted
like-
the urge to tweet about like everyone else was yesterday, so I still get to get my feelings out.
Yeah.
All right,
understand.
Jeff, I'm ready now.
Okay.
Are you ready? Okay, I'm doing it. I'm gonna say something.
Jeff, your games you're playing, I assume Pikmin Bloom. Did you play any
Yeah, the...
Mario Party? Because I didn't.
I
No,
did
I
play
played
actually a
it.
little bit of Mario
All
Party.
right,
Yeah,
then, Mario
cool.
Party. What's this one called?
Superstars.
Superstars.
I thought-
I
Yes, Christian.
I was about to say, why didn't you play Mario Party, Grubb, with the Shambon people?
Well, I was gonna go into the next game with not with the John Bomb, with what's his name, and Dan Reichert. I was gonna do the next game with him, but
You didn't even do that?
no, because it went for 3 hours, and I'm like, but hey, no, I couldn't play Forza with you anyhow because it was downloading that entire night and the next day, so I couldn't play anyhow.
Guys, it was so I literally got a text on
That's-
that night.
we don't have
Jeff's
to
like,
go over it.
Jeff's like, Mike, we're going.
No.
Also, I don't think he could say what we wanted to play, but yeah, but Mike, we're going to play a game together. And then you literally responded immediately, for real. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get ready. Then literally a minute later, he's like, wait, never mind, I'm playing Mario Party instead. I was like, wow. Then it turns out he didn't even do that. He just probably sat around with that porn all night. I don't know what he does.
Just stared at the wall mostly. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
porn was on, but I was staring at the wall.
It's just in the background, like friends.
Yeah,
all the time.
exactly. All right.
All right, I'm leaving.
I'm playing. Yeah, have a good one,
Have a
Christian.
good podcast.
You can't hear it, Mike, but I'm playing Sonic 3D Blast Christmas sounding music for the people.
Oh, you playing Diamond Dust? Ooh.
Yes, I am actually.
My friend in high school literally had a band named Diamond Dust after that level.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, actually. Okay, I have OBS here. I'll have to hit the record button. You know what I need? I need to get the stream elements. Let's do that.
Yes.
Log in.
I need to actually tweet. Let the dogs out. It's Nintendo time. Nintendogs time. Hey, what?
I needed to mute my desktop audio because people were gonna hear all, like notifications, so I left that on. So I was making sure that still worked, and it does.
All the notifications you ignore.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes, 100, like thousands. Yes. Cool. All right, I got Streamlabs up. So if anyone sends in a super chat, I'm gonna see it there. And then yeah. All right, Mike. I think I'm good.
Podcasting now.
I think I'm ready.
Okay, yeah, I had to go vote after this. Local elections are just as important, Jeff.
Hey, I'm filling out my ballot and dropping it off too. They mailed it to me already. I'm like, Colorado makes it very simple. All right, let me eat this antacid and then we'll get started.
Man, I'll tell you what, I've been needing a lot more of those as I get older.
I've always needed them. Apparently, it's part of ADHD. So I'm learning so much new stuff about like gastroenterology, reflux disease or whatever it is. Yeah. And yeah, it's a big part of having ADHD.
I have
like,
Crohn's.
No idea.
I know the terms gastrointestinal. Though.
Thank you. Yeah.
What, Penny? Say something. You got something to say to me? Let's hear it. Let's just let it all out right now for everyone to hear. What's your problem with me? Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, Jeff, we're ready.
Yep, I'm ready. Yeah, Imperial Tim says, I'm a prazole. That's not how you say that. I'm a prazole. I'm taking.
Sounds like an Italian dish.
Yeah, I'm a prazole.
My grandmother from Italy. She makes it a fantastic, and I'm a prazole.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I'm allowed to do that. I am Italian.
Yeah, I'm allowed to do that because what are you gonna do? You gonna come to my house?
I'll kill you.
Okay, very well.
You'll be dead.
Okay, damn it. All right, it's very scary. Actually, you're Italian, so
yeah. I know people.
Okay, I have the rundown. I'm gonna hit the button here. It's the right button. I'm gonna hit record. Okay, you ready?
Mike, you ready?
5, 4, 3.
Hey, you guys hear me? Start cheering now! Yeah, let's get this over with. Yeah.
Woof woof. Hi, I'm Mike Minotti, and I am a Nintendog.
Hi, I'm Jeff Grubb, and I am a Nintendog. I forgot to put the camera on us, Mike.
I was like wondering why there was a pause. And we are the last of the Nintendogs. I am not. Oh, there you go. You got me in the right spot. Okay, look, we got a fantastic show for you, despite what you might be thinking after that intro. We're going to be talking about our favorite Nintendo controllers. We'll be talking about all of the fun Nintendo news, like what might be going on with Advance Wars and how people are feeling about Nintendo Switch Online's expansion pack. Jeff, first, how was your Halloween?
It was good. We went trick-or-treating. It was a fun time. They got lots of candy. We basically just went around the block once, and by the time we were like 75% of the way through, Emmy, the older one, was like, all right, time to go home. I'm like, all right. Yeah. I couldn't tell if she was like tired. I'm sure it was tired legs, but also I think she's just like, man, I got a lot of candy I'm thinking about. I want to just go look at it now. And that's definitely what they did as soon as we got home, is just dump out their bags and sit on the ground and look at all their candy. But yeah, it was a really good time. The neighborhood was really nice. Everyone was all set up and very excited to I think to see the kids after being cooped up for a year and a half or whatever. And yeah, we really enjoyed ourselves. It was a fun time. How about you? Were you handing out candy?
No, I was going to, but then my brothers actually met up at my one brother's house to go trick-or-treating together with their kids. So I just went with them. I just left a bowl out. So I walked around with them, and that was nice. Because they actually, my one brother lives in the neighborhood I grew up in until I was like 5. So it's always kind of nostalgic going there for trick-or-treating. Yeah. But yeah, as I say, it was the same thing. Like after an hour, they were all like pretty tired and almost a little bit, not over it, but they're kind of like happy to get home. Which I totally understand. Yeah, after an hour, you definitely have all the candy you're probably going to need for a long time there. So it was fun. I was shocked when I got home. I left out like a bowl that was halfway full of candy. It was gone when I got back, and I usually do not get many trick-or-treaters. I wonder if some kids just like ransacked it all. I don't have any fancy cameras. I don't know. I also discovered that a lot of the bricks on the front of my stoop were displaced. So I think somebody almost died trying to get onto my front porch. So, maybe they deserved it, maybe not. I might have to get some grout and fix that though next time, so I don't get any legal.
Get sued. You gotta put up a sign that says like, candy at your own risk. Risk your own life if you want this candy. It was a good time. I like Halloween a lot, but I am also now ready for for Christmas. We watched Nightmare Before Christmas a bunch of times. It was
That's a perfect day after Halloween movie.
Yeah, we were watching it that night, and then the next day, because the kids were like getting very, very into it. And Emmy's got lots of questions when she watches movies now. So I was explaining to her why the girl that lives with the evil scientist is sad and throws herself out the window. And I'm like, well, because he kind of thinks he owns her. And she's like, well, owning people sounds bad. I'm like, yes, very good, very good.
Oh, some people might disagree with you. Some people,
yeah. But yeah, you keep that though. You're right. You nailed it in one 4-year-old. So yeah, it was fun to kind of explain these, because now she's actually understanding like what's happening. It's very interesting to have these conversations with her. But yeah, it was a good time. I'm looking forward to the next coming up holidays. Thanksgiving's my favorite, so I'm like getting into that mood. And also, it's like there's not a ton of huge games coming out. There's a lot of games to play. This year wasn't like some like desert of games, but it definitely feels like 2014, that year after the Xbox One and PS4 came out, where we gave Game of the Year to what was it?
Dragon Age?
Was it the Lord of the Rings game or Dragon Age? I think Dragon Age.
Dragon Age is the year I remember where it's like Dragon Age Inquisition won a lot of Game of the Years when it was pretty good. But yeah. Man, I don't really, because like, man, this year I've been playing so many games.
Yeah, no, up until this point, yeah, absolutely. But this November just doesn't have like, it's got Call of Duty like always.
Here's the thing, it's got games that I don't think you particularly are very excited about. It's got Call of Duty, it's got Battlefield, and it has the Pokemon remakes. So they're big deal games that are going to sell a lot.
Yeah, those are every year though, right? There's always like, I guess Battlefield's not every year.
Yeah, Battlefield's not every year. Pokemon kind of is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
When did but I know what you mean, but also you're wrong.
Okay, no, fair enough. It just seems a little bit slower than
don't forget, like Forza is also very soon, and
you're
then
right. You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I'm still looking forward to a lot of these games. But I'm also looking forward to a chance to catch up on
by 5, which again you don't care about. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think it just doesn't. I think you're just still mad that they delayed Advance Wars, is what this is all about.
Well, definitely. I mean, that was December anyhow, but I'm definitely still mad about that. But yeah, and it's like some of these games, to be frank, like we're reviewing some of these games already, so it's like they're already here. So when I'm talking about
I know, I wonder which one, that we could be talking about that you're feeling like that for.
So like when I look forward, I'm like looking forward, like what's coming next. It's like I'm already looking past some of the games, so other people are like, Jeff, that's coming. So yeah, that's part of me just being privileged and stuff.
There's a certain indie game that I don't think we can talk about yet,
right? Which I just started playing, and it's like we'll talk about that on this show next week. So
it's something that people should also probably be looking forward to this month. So
did you start that? I'm just curious.
I started it.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, we'll talk about it next week, everybody. Sorry to tease you.
Moi. If people have been listening to this show, they might know what I'm talking about.
Okay.
All right, Jeff. I got some news here. The first one here, only tangentially Nintendo related, but I had to start with it. I need to know what you think. Chris Pratt has been announced as the voice of Garfield in a new animated movie. Jeff, what is happening?
Mike Williams, who I think is at Fanbyte now, had the perfect response and exactly how I feel. It was just all caps, quote retweeting this news saying, "What is happening?" It's like that's how I feel. Like, what is like he? Okay, I get it to a certain extent. Julia Alexander, who I can't remember where she's at now. She used to be at Polygon. I think she might be. I have no idea anymore. She was like, if you look at the numbers, Chris Pratt's just popular globally, and the Lego Movie was very successful, and
Lego Movie 2 was only kind of successful though.
I know. I agree. I feel like this is like a very unscientific sort of Hollywood executives going with their gut, being like, get us that Lego Movie guy. That Lego Movie was one of these movies. We want to have that Lego Movie success.
Here's my theory. Because me and Garfield should sound like an old, kind of tired man, basically like Lorenzo Music. Like I always think of Garfield and Friends, that voice actor.
Same here.
I feel like a director like pointed at an episode of Parks and Rec and was pointing at Nick Offerman, and then like the casting director just like thought it was Chris Pratt, right? Because like Nick Offerman, that sure makes a lot of sense.
That is
Garfield.
Perfect. That is killing me, because I mean, if like that is almost so perfect, it feels like it could be like years from now, that might be the story people tell about what happened here.
It could be. But
Nick Offerman so
sounds exactly like Garfield to me.
Oh man, like now I'm sad because I was like, whatever. I don't care. Bill Murray's still alive. They could have just used Bill Murray, but I didn't like those Bill Murray Garfields anyhow. Sure. I didn't hate them, but I was just like, I'm not excited about this. Nick Offerman, I would make me want to watch it, but he's not Chris Pratt on the poster or whatever. I mean, to me, again, that doesn't move me one way or the other. I feel like it doesn't move most people, but I think executives just like pretty Hollywood faces.
I feel like we still know that, like we've learned a while ago that star power isn't really that much of a thing in Hollywood
Especially
anymore.
People
don't really go to see movies because of like the stars, but Hollywood certainly still acts like that's time.
Yeah.
So
I think
cartoons,
there are a couple countries where certain stars like The Rock make a huge difference. Like if The Rock is in a movie, it'll do very well in the United States and in China, and a few other like key territories. And that's why like the Fast and Furious movies do really well. That cast does have a lot of appeal globally. I get it, but like Chris Pratt as a voice in a cartoon for children just doesn't seem like it's the same thing there. But whatever, I'm not really that upset. It is just,
I mean, look, how much is like weird. Going to go see the new Garfield movie? Whatever, I'm sure it's going to be very mediocre. It's the Garfield movie coming out in 2023 or whatever.
But like now Garfield and Mario are played by the same person, and that's messed up. That's
way too few degrees of separation between Mario and Garfield for my liking.
Yep, same. Agreed.
So there we go. All right, so that is interesting. Next thing I have so there's a Nintendo Switch Online an expansion pack overview trailer on Nintendo's YouTube, and it is their most disliked YouTube video ever. Jeff, I don't know if you're looking at the list and already saw this, but you know what it overtook?
I'm like half reading the sentence, but it's why don't you just tell me?
It's Metroid Prime Federation Force reveal.
Okay,
right, that's funny.
That is funny.
Now we talk about a lot, like, does Nintendo know, does Nintendo care? Oddly, I always feel like when a YouTube video gets disliked, that is actually something that like they have to kind of be.
It's
like,
a number, right? When it's something that's so easily quantifiable like that, that's the kind of thing I think executives do pay attention to, because it's it's not just some weird sentiment that you can ignore. But like, here's a concrete number, even if the number is juiced by people being like overly angry or being like riled up by other YouTubers and sending them this video and like disliking it or whatever the reason is, the number itself is something that they can like print out on a page, compare it to other videos, and say something like, this got more dislikes than Metroid Prime Federation Force, and then everyone gasps because that game didn't do very well. So it's like, I think this could move them a little bit. I agree.
Right. And what happened after Metroid Prime Federation Force? They finally like relented and just made a new 2D Metroid game. Maybe it was a remake at first, but so maybe they do react to that stuff. I don't know. We'll see. I wonder if there are talks where they're like, guys, we better actually improve the emulation because people are upset about that, or if they really don't care there. But there sure are a lot of videos and stuff where people are, saying things about that. That almost doesn't bother me that much, but it's a bad look. And look, like, people love comparison videos these days. So it doesn't look great when you have the Wii version next to that Switch version, and the Wii version does look better. Jeff, what are you looking up over there?
I was just writing in chat that people should hit the like button and then share that we are live with the Nintendo fans in their lives.
You should do that, Jeff. That's very good. Jeff, here's a story that you'll enjoy and actually wrote about. So Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp was delayed, but a listing showed up on the eShop for April 8th. Jeff, do you think this is the release date?
I think it's the release date, yeah. I mean, they could always change it. They haven't announced this anywhere else, like not on social media, not in a press release or anything like that. If you go to the website on a browser, it doesn't say this date, but if you look up the game on the eShop on your Switch, that's the date it still says, at least the last time I checked. And that's a Friday. It's right in line with how, like, it's also like in the time frame that they previously said. They delayed it to spring. That's right at the beginning of spring, near the beginning of spring. To me, it all kind of like lines up. It makes a lot of sense. It's also out of the way of some of their other games that we know are launching. They got Pokemon Legends very early in the year. There's some other stuff, like Splatoon 3 is probably going to come in summer or later, something like that. So it's like, okay, April makes a lot of sense for that game. So yeah, I believe that's the date.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So people discovered that GoldenEye, the Nintendo 64 game, is no longer banned in Germany, and like Nintendo has to actively be involved for that to happen. So people are wondering, well, why would Nintendo bother doing this? So people think that maybe we're going to be getting GoldenEye on Nintendo Switch Online. Jeff, do you think that's in the cards?
Yeah, I feel like it's inevitable now. I think that when Banjo-Kazooie showed up and at the expansion pack presentation, whatever the Animal Crossing thing, when they said, oh, expansion pack is getting all this other extra stuff, whatever it was. I'm like, okay, they're working with Rare and Microsoft on this stuff, and obviously the crown jewel of all of that in terms of like what would get people the most excited would be Goldeneye. And if Microsoft relented here, it's probably because they were said, hey, let's make this Goldeneye thing happen. You can go ahead and get it on the N64 expansion pack, put it there. Just let us release the remastered version that we made that you blocked previously, which is kind of how it went down. And I think, I was like, this is inevitable now. So it's very exciting to see that. It'll be fun to play that online for a couple minutes and then probably never touch it again.
Sure.
But it's cool that it's happening.
I can see some people getting really into that.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I've said before that I've never been the biggest GoldenEye fan, but even I would be interested in playing it again at this point and on a Switch. I hope that this means like other licensed things are potentially happening, specifically the wrestling games. I'm not holding my breath, but that would be fantastic. So Smash Brothers director Sakurai did a Famitsu interview. This was actually translated by Silicon Era. There were some interesting quotes from this. He said, "I am not thinking of a sequel. I'm not thinking of it every time. However, I can't say with certainty that this would be the end of Smash. I need to think whether I must release a Smash game or not, even if I had to do something that would disappoint users." So, first off, I think I always love, I don't know if it's him playing coy or him being naive. I always like how he thinks there's like the option of just never making a new Smash Brothers again. Come on.
He's like, who knows? Maybe we'll make another one of these games that's in this $1 billion franchise. Like, who knows? Yeah, couldn't say.
Yeah. Now, when he says, even if I had to do something that would disappoint users, that must mean not including like all of the characters again, right? Like, I don't know what else that could be talking about, but that might, I'm sure they're also thinking about that. Like, how do we do this going forward if it's not just a port?
Yeah. And, right. If it's not just a port or not like a complete like if they were going to do one without Sakurai, if they were going to do one that's like, trying to refresh the series and not including all these characters, it would have to play differently. I think it would almost have to be like, what if it's Power Stone instead? And then like that's like, I don't think they would do that. Of course. Yeah,
welcome to the new most disliked YouTube video from Nintendo.
Yes, exactly. So when when you play out those mind experiments or whatever, and you're like, okay, you end up right back at Sakurai making another Smash Brothers exactly like this, and kind of just figuring out those problems of making sure you can include all the characters or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talked about doing it without him. There's also quotes about that. He said, "I currently don't see a path where Smash can be produced without myself. Honestly, we did actually try leaving it to someone else, but it didn't go well." So here's a story I'd like to hear about something. I wonder like how well it didn't go, or if the person just wasn't doing things the way Sakurai would have wanted them to do, and then basically kind of like had to jump back in or whatever, or if it was actually like a disaster and he had to come in and save the day, right? Who knows? And I wonder who that someone was. They probably don't feel super great, but
they're probably got buried in the Japanese deserts.
Yes.
Whatever Japan desert exists, they're out there somewhere.
Again, there's this last quote here, just again like about this, like who knows what's gonna. He says, "If the series were to continue, I have to talk with Nintendo and have a debate on whether it will succeed or not. I must think about this topic seriously." So like, I understand the professionalism, but it'll succeed. It'll be the next Smash Bros. Game, right? Even Brawl, which people kind of like didn't like that much, sold a crap ton of copies. It'll do well.
Yeah, like the portable version Super Smash Brothers for 3DS like sold very well, even though it was like this shrunk down version of the game you could get on Wii U or whatever. People are just like, give me Smash Brothers wherever I can get it. And to me, all those signs indicate the series will sell kind of no matter what.
Right. So again, they're going to do something, and I tell you what, I think Sakurai is going to be involved for a very long time still. He's basically has said he's tried to step away before, and for whatever happened, he couldn't do it. So the Switch hacking group, led by Gary Bowser. Well, now Gary Bowser has agreed to pay Nintendo $4.5 million. He pleaded guilty in court so that he wouldn't have to be tried and go through that whole thing. Jeff, do you think a man in charge of a hacking group could possibly have caused $4.5 million worth of damage to Nintendo?
I mean, I'm sure that Nintendo's lawyers and accountants could come up with the math for how that works out, but I don't know. No, not really, because it's not like if Gary Bowser never existed, would that would the people who were hacking and the people that were getting not counterfeit but like illegal game ROMs or whatever, would they still be doing that? Yes, they would have found a way. So it's like I think it's not exactly realistic to say $4.5 million worth of damage was done by one person, but that's the way the laws work. And yeah, I mean, it stinks, but you know, if you're going to mess around with Nintendo, you got to keep in mind that at any time they could drop their lawyer, like there are tons of bricks worth of lawyers on you, and that's what happened here. And yeah, I mean, to me, I'm always like, this is like just kind of a regular person, right? $4.5 million is more than most people make in a lifetime. And so it's like, what's the real, like, what does Nintendo really expect to happen here in terms of getting paid back? Most of the time, this is just a warning sign to others, right?
Yeah, I do. I also was wondering that, like, what is this guy's estate like, right?
Yeah.
And I was wondering maybe it had to be relatively big if Nintendo bothered going after them anyway. I don't know. I'm not. These are corporate issues, not something my little mind can properly.
Do you think that, like, because his name's Gary Bowser, they're like, hey, we should really get him.
All these Bowsers, right?
Yeah.
They're like, that's our thing now. Our guy's named Bowser, and we think it's cute, but you're not cute. You're bad.
Gary Bowser should change his name to Gary Koopa. He would have been
Gary
fine.
Koopa.
Yeah.
Jeff, I know that you're upset there's not a new F-Zero game, but the last F-Zero game ever made, F-Zero Climax, which was a Japan exclusive for GBA, now has a complete fan-made translation patch.
Oh, good.
So there you go.
Yeah,
this is Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is a game that it's actually pretty good. I think it's the better of the two GBA games. I played it, and
three GBA games.
Three. Oh God, that's right. Yes, yeah, that's right. I've played all of them, and I think I think this one's the best. Even it's much more based on the anime. This one and the other Climax one or whatever.
Right.
It is.
So there was Maximum Velocity, which is a launch game, and that was almost more just like a port of the original Zero. Then there was GP Legend, which is based on the anime, and we got that one here. Then this one, Climax, is basically just like a straight sequel to GP Legend, but it never left Japan. Yeah, these games are good. They're a bit pinball-y. Like you can like get in these situations where you hit the bumper, like the side things, and they actually act like bumpers, and you just kind of bounce back and forth for an obnoxiously long time, but they're fun. And yeah, this thing came out in 2004, and that is distressingly the last time we had an F-Zero game.
That's messed up, actually.
At this point, it may very well be like a 20-year hiatus by the time we ever get a new entry in this series. It's crazy, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah, these games looked really good on the GBA, especially the vehicles. The vehicles themselves had really good animations.
I think they were pre-rendered even. Actually.
Pre-rendered 3D almost. Yeah, and it just looks very.
Country.
Yes, exactly like that, and it looked really, really good on the GBA.
All right, last little thing here. So the Tomb Raider games, Guardian of Light and Temple of Osiris, are coming to Switch in 2022. This was like one of the few actual Tomb Raider anniversary announcements that we got. Jeff, these were those like digital games that kind of came out, I think, after the first reboot game. And it's a little weird because these ones are like the old school Lara Croft design, and
they're like almost isometric, right?
Like isometric action games, almost kind of like Diablo from what I remember.
Yeah.
But they're co-op based. Like the other player was like this, it was like a witch doctor or something. They were fun from what I remember. I don't know if I'm going to go back to them, but there you go. Tomb Raider.
Yeah, good fit on the Switch. Whatever. People like Tomb Raider. People like Lara Croft. So why not put them back out somewhere? That makes some sense. I mean, I think I'm with you. Where I'm like, I'm probably not going to play these. I don't think I played them when they came out, but I guess
the first one for a bit, and it was fun. Part of me almost feels like there was still Summer of Arcade when that happened, or I think I had it on Xbox 360 anyways. But I think it still was after the first reboot game.
Yeah, it was definitely in that time. Yeah, I mean, I think they were kind of almost promoting them side by side. So it's like, yeah, I think you're right, but. Hey, cool. That's neat that series is coming to the Switch in more ways. So cool.
All right, we can get to some questions here before we get to our topic, which is favorite Nintendo controller. If you guys have a question in our chat right now, or you want to tell us about your favorite controller, you can do that in a super chat, and we will read it before the end of the show. Jeff, let's get cracking here. Winnie, featuring Dante from Devil May Cry, asks, any idea what the Shin Megami Tensei 5 team will move on to once the game is released, since Atlas doesn't really do the continued support thing? So what's likely is that they'll make... So remember when Shin Megami Tensei 4 came out? It then basically had a sequel, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse, which reused a lot of the assets, but was an entirely new game. I think something very similar can happen here. with that. I know it probably more exciting if they like did a new like Digital Devil Saga or something else in the SMT universe, but I bet it'll be like Shin Megami Tensei 5 Apocalypse. I wish that like Sega would just be like, "Hey, do you guys want to make Fantasy Star 5?" That would make me happy. Make me happy if they got anybody doing that, but I don't know. Someone said Persona 6. I think that's technically a separate team that does like the main Shin Megami Tensei games in Persona 6. I'm sure there's crossover actually, but maybe I'm wrong there. Uh, yeah, they do kind of alternate. Now I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure there's people working on Persona 6 right now though.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure some people working on SMT 5 are going to transition to that also, sure. But in terms of maybe beyond that, I think there still might be a SMT 5 Apocalypse. Matt OK asks, will Nintendo sell Wind Waker HD and Twilight Princess HD as one package or break them up? I think Nintendo could get away with charging $50, maybe even a full $60 for each game. Well, they charged $60 for Skyward Sword, and they like caught some grief for it, but it didn't really seem to hurt them too much. I feel I don't know, but now that like these are already remasters that they have released, maybe that's hard to get away.
And
with.
they released them for they released them for $50 previously, right? So, yeah, I think they'd catch even more fun. What I always heard this could change was that they would sell them together for $60. So, to me, that makes the most sense. I think that's right. I think that version does very, very well. And yeah, it's maybe they make slightly less money if they sold each for $50, but I don't know. I think it does very well. So yeah.
I mean, we're asked about these games almost every single week, right? It's like, man, if I was Nintendo, I would get this thing out there. People definitely
I agree.
want to buy it. Nick Turbo says, I finally beat Elite Beat Agents. You don't want to know how many times it took me to beat Jumping Jack Flash, but I did it. My question, is there any other rhythm games that don't require large plastic peripherals that you recommend? Also, never forget, music lives. Ah, man, other music games that aren't like the plastic instrument ones. I mean, Elite Beat Agent is always the big one that comes to mind. If you like, Final Fantasy, the theater rhythm games are pretty fun. But again, you have to kind of be a fan of that franchise because it's just entirely Final Fantasy music. But it's a little bit like Elite Beat Agents. Jeff, do you have any
Guitar Man is one that people seem to like. I played it a little bit, but I haven't played it in a very long time. But I know it's short and sweet and really good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really
I bought
stands out to me.
Guitar Man at like a bargain bin at Kmart, and it just did not work on my PlayStation 2, and I just never knew why. And I was like, I guess I'll never play this game then. I remember that's what I think about when I think about Guitar Man.
You could just play DDR with like your fingers on a controller. There you go. Yeah.
Probably preferable. I'm too tired to jump around anymore.
Yeah, Nick Turbo's a young man. He could handle it.
Yeah, you can go for that. Turbo Sean says, is there really any point in terms of universal gameplay in having analog triggers and controllers? Aside from games designed around them, like controlling the strength of Flood Spray and Super Mario Sunshine, the only thing I could think of is better control of your acceleration in racing games. Even firing a gun, which is where I assume the shape came from, it is almost always a digital input. I think it is worth it for those few games that take advantage of it. Like a racing game, right? You definitely want that analog trigger. And
I mean, Trials, a huge deal. Yeah, like Trials is very much like you need to be able to just feather the gas a little bit as you're going uphill so you don't flip over backward. And I think, yeah, it's worth it for those moments right there. Like that's honestly, I think that we are at a point where, in general, this is something I don't think most people care about, and even I'm like, I get it, but we're at a point where like analog movement in general, analog input in general is kind of wasted, where we're not like, if you want to walk slowly in a game, you don't hold the stick halfway. There's usually a button you hold down to like either stop your character from sprinting, or you don't hold down a button, you just sort of, you're either moving or you're not. And I just wish more games would treat the analog stick as like with more precision and actually use the entire stick. And I wish that more games would use the triggers as well in the same way. But you're obviously right. Most games aren't using it. Most games are just treating it as a digital input. The Switch only has digital inputs. Like you cannot get analog input on the Switch. They just don't do that. So yeah, I think it's a thing that could end up going away. More likely, actually, on the PlayStation and Xbox, almost certainly it won't, because they do understand that they're going to use it for racing games, and it's sort of built in, and they have like legacy games they're going to continue to support. But I don't think Nintendo's going to come back around to it personally. So, and I think that's disappointing. But I like it when it's there.
Me too. Nintendo Bro says it seems as though making cloud versions of games is becoming a more popular trend for the Switch. Of course, the glaring problem with this is that the Switch does not have any way to maintain a constant connection to the internet when you are out and about. That being said, do you think we will see 5G support when the next iteration of the Switch releases?
That's tough to say. I don't know. I doubt it because I don't know. Maybe if they do a pro version, but even then, I don't think they want to split up the market and be like, okay, these ones have 5G, and then these much cheaper ones that most people are going to buy only have Wi-Fi. So can you make a game and assume people are going to have 5G? Well, no. So I don't know. And really, I think it would be such a small portion of the market that would actually, because even if you get the Wi-Fi one, you could just like tether it to your 5G phone, right? That would be effectively the same thing. So I think Nintendo would probably be like, let's just not even go through the hassle of trying to get a 5G modem into these things. Let's just build these things with Wi-Fi, and maybe much better Wi-Fi, much improved Wi-Fi, which is an option to them, and then and call that a day, and that would be fine.
Jayton asks, will you be picking up Grand Theft Auto 3D All-Stars Trilogy on Switch or on other platforms instead? I want to play it on Switch. I do want to see what the frame rate's going to be. If I'm playing games that old, I want them to be in 60 frames per second. So I'll wait and see if it's if it's a thing where like they like want to give me a code before like a Digital Foundry video is out. I might just play it safe and be like, Xbox or PlayStation, please.
Yeah, I'll probably I'll get it on PC and Switch. Probably is probably how it'll go down.
Low Rule Legend says, why is every game so unsatisfying after Metroid Dread? I keep bouncing off new games and would just rather be back on ZDR. I'll tell you what, man, Metroid Dread just controls super well. That's why I never was somebody who just like replays games after I beat them, and I played through that game 4 times, basically back to back. I took like one break to play Aria of Sorrow, and I enjoyed it, but there was a part of me that's like, oh, I kind of want to play Metroid Dread again.
Yep.
It's just very, 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 very good, and I hope that they just make another one. I hope it's not like, all right, now in another 15 years we'll get Metroid 6 or whatever.
Yeah. Yep, that's exactly right. I think it's just so smooth, and it's so fun to be moving Samus around that world immediately that it's makes other games just kind of feel dry.
Have you given up on Hollow Knight?
No, but I'm busy with a lot of other review games. But no, I've not given up on it.
Okay. Mr. Hot Take here. All right, Jeff, you ready to talk about NFTs?
I mean, not really, but I want to. I mean, let's just do it. Let's get it out there.
With Mario now being an NFT and with Ubisoft saying they will start to include NFTs in games as well, what are your guys' thoughts on NFTs? As a graphic design artist myself, I find it incredibly insulting that they warp something that I have called a passion for so many years into any crypto scheme. I do think that the Mario NFT thing isn't official and that Nintendo tried to shut that down. Or maybe I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong.
No,
maybe
that's
there's another one.
No,
that's
I think you're right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one. This became a topic again because Ubisoft's coming out talking about it. Here's my thing with the NFTs, right? The defense of it is always just from a business perspective. It's always just people talking about how it can make money and how there's value in it. No one has ever been able to explain how this is good for like the arts or the
enjoyment, like the enjoyment even
of video games. Like no one has ever even bothered trying to explain that. So and that's the weird thing.
And like, I think we all treat microtransactions and the invasiveness of business models and new ways to spend money on games as sort of like this fever that is taken a hold of gaming. And NFTs are like, let's feed the fever. Let's like increase this fever. Let's turn the fever from 101 degrees to 111. Let's just go wild. And it's pretty weird, but like you're right, where this is all coming from one perspective, and I think it was really well illustrated last night on Twitter, where Rolling Stone, the magazine, is doing an NFT cover, and they worked with like Bored Ape, one of these people that are making these sort of like Garbage Pail Kids cards, but digital versions, and they post up the cover itself on Twitter and say, hey, look, we're gonna be auctioning off this NFT, and everyone's like, well, I'm just gonna right click it and now I have it for free. Well, and what are you gonna do about it? And then someone's like, well, have you tried selling it? And it's like that is it right there.
That's sort of what the defense is like. Well, what that doesn't have any value if you owned the code. It has. It's like, oh
it's
my
like,
god,
who am I going to sell it to when they could also just download it for free? So I'm selling it to some other crazy person who's just as crazy as me, who thinks this thing has value, and it's this house of cards.
Right.
And the reason that the real reason that people want NFTs is there is it all exists on the blockchain, but when the artist creates something, they could sell it to someone for $5. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's not a lot of money. And then they're going to still go and sell these things for $150,000. The artist is going to be feeling pretty burnt by that. No, the artist is going to get 10% every time it sells to someone new. That's how this thing works. So that's why they are very much into this idea. So you sell it to one person for $5, let that speculator do all this work to sell it to someone else, and then to someone else, and then to someone else. And each time the artist gets 10% of that. So like they have a lot of incentive to do these things. Now, do you have an incentive to participate in this? I mean, only if you are really into this idea of scarcity. And the problem is that the human brain very much loves the idea of scarcity. That's why we're like tickled by this stuff. And to me, the promise of the internet was always to move us past scarcity as a concept, as a species, where like we were so used to like only things existing as physical versions, and now we have ways to digitally replicate everything so much that people don't feel the need to have to go wild chasing down these things. You could just go find it anywhere. It'll exist on archive.org for the rest of your life. You could calm down, it's going to be there. And now these people want to bring back scarcity to the internet, and to me it is counter to everything that we've been working towards. It is counter to progress, and it's all just so a few people can get really rich. And then we talk about it's a house of cards. It's a pyramid scheme. It's speculators making a lot of money by convincing other people that something's worth something, and then they go down the line and they buy something for more money than that speculator bought it for, and now you need to sell it for more money than you bought it for, and so on and so on and so on. All the while the people at the top of the chain keep getting their cut. To me, it sounds like something that is going to implode at some point, and we're going to look back on it and be like, it's just another one of those Beanie Babies, Garbage Pail Kids situations where people just went wild speculating, and it never had any real value. And this time it feels so transparent, and yet people are spending a lot of money on this stuff.
Yeah, was it Rolling Stone that also had that Mario Kart example? Like, imagine if like that's Bloomberg. Is that Bloomberg? Okay,
yeah,
that's your Mario from Mario Kart, and
no,
it has
the Mario. They were like,
Mario.
the one Mario, the one person who owns Mario in Mario Kart, and it's better than everyone else's.
Right, but they're talking. But it's like they don't understand anything about games. It's like, well, that Mario is better than all the other drivers, and you can make him better, and then you can sell him. So isn't that cool? It's like, well, I think it'd be cool to play a racing game where everyone was on an even level. Yeah. That sounds cool to me. Maybe I'm old fashioned and weird. I don't know. Yeah, it's just it seems like right now the only people who are excited about NFTs are again business people and like your uncle that bothers you about buying Ethereum, right? Like, like that kind. I there's been no good pitch about how this is going to help games. Now that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. A lot of bad things that have been bad to gamers have happened before. But I see some people like reprimanding, like, "Oh, this is the future, so you better get on board." Like maybe not though.
Yeah,
it certainly isn't going to become like everything. It's not going to become like the next step, like where all of a sudden every single video game is going to have NFTs and blockchain involved. I think things like Roblox certainly will. It's going to show up. Like I'm sure the Assassin's Creed Infinity is going to try to do something with blockchain and or whatnot. But again, it seems like there's a lot of gaps in the logic here, and it certainly seems like it's not going to be applicable to every. Look, we've seen games like Diablo 3 do similar things with like a real money auction house, and it was a very big net negative for that gaming experience. Everybody hated it. So I don't understand how it could be different.
It wasn't because the auction house didn't function. It
worked. Oh yeah,
all that
people
stuff
made
worked.
money.
Yeah, and people made money. People were incentivized to go out and play the game to earn these stuff so they could then sell them. All the stuff that NFT is promising. And yet they took it out of the game because it just broke the fun. It broke the experience. People hated it. And to me, that's the promise of NFT is an auction house where you can't have customer service support because no one controls actually who owns this stuff. No one can actually oversee it. It's all decentralized, so no one can go into like a backroom database and say, "Oh, okay, we see you were scammed. Here, we're going to restore your purchase." 11-year-old kid who's crying about losing their stuff. Well, no, with NFTs, too bad. you got scammed. Harsh lesson learned. Take better care of your NFTs, kid. And to me, this is just a nightmare waiting to happen, and it's so unnecessary. And, we're not even talking about the environmental concerns where there are a lot. It requires a lot of energy to mint these NFT tokens.
Man, I'll tell you, there are people who now are like, "That's absolutely not true." And they get mad about it. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but those people are either suckers or liars, and because they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to move to proof of work," or whatever it is. Well, why haven't you moved to it yet? Move to it then. Why haven't you moved to it yet? Move to it. Like, once you do that, we could talk about that. You haven't done it yet. That is it's a dangling thing that they're holding in front of people to say, no, you don't have to worry about the environmental concerns. We're going to dangle. And then people will say like, oh, well, tweeting uses up energy too. Everything uses up energy. Yeah, that's absolutely the point. But minting one NFT token is significantly more energy intensive. And this stuff is like demonstrably true. We can prove this stuff with just simple math. And in a world where we are, we're gradually moving towards climate crisis, to do something so useless, something that we can do with other techniques, so stuff that we can have centralized control over if you are a company trying to run an in-game economy, this stuff seems useless and bad and not necessarily. It's definitely the tail wagging the dog, right? Where these people want to make more money and they don't want to make games. They just want to make more money. And well, let's put in this system that can make us more money, and then we'll figure out the games later. And I don't know when that's ever worked. I don't think that's ever worked.
Just again, I've seen a lot of arguments about how this can make people money. I see absolutely no arguments about how it makes video games better. And it's like so transparently not about that right. Like, why should we care? Why do you want us to get excited about it?
Mike, there's the one example. It's like you buy a sword and then you can use it in every game, which is something that will totally happen and is realistic.
Yeah, those examples are just so bafflingly stupid and not going to happen. That's always like, there's always an old person who says that who absolutely doesn't know what they're talking about. Whenever somebody
it's
says
like,
that.
Oh, honey, you just don't understand anything, do you?
What the hell are you talking about?
You think NFTs are suddenly going to make all the code bases of all these different games interoperable? No, it's never going to happen. Like, different Unreal games can't speak to one another, and they're all built on the same engine. What are you talking about? And it's baffling. It's bad, and we are absolutely right to be skeptical of this because we know the motivations here. We've seen it 100 times now in gaming, and we can spot a scam when we see one. We all can, and so. Let's have this conversation and go ahead, try to make your NFT games, but we are going to continue to be skeptical of it, and I think for very good reasons.
I remember the first year where like the people were talking about blockchain, and we were at GDC, and there was like all these companies like startup at blockchain companies like paid people to stand outside the convention center and like give people cards, and they were literally doing the thing in Vegas with like the call girls where they were like making the card click like, hey, blockchain, get your blockchain card here. So like that has forever warped my perception of all of this.
And to me, that seems like exactly the kind of people that are pushing this, the kind of people that would do that sort of thing. So yeah.
All right, so that's enough NFT talk. Let's get into the question of the week. Your favorite Nintendo controller. Jeff, I will ask you first. What is your favorite Nintendo controller?
All right. This is a tough one. I like all of them for the most part. I really do. I think they're all very good. I wish actually the original Nintendo Switch Pro controller was good, except for its really terrible D-pad. So I would love to say that, but I've had too many bad experiences with that. So I think I'm going to go with the Wavebird for the GameCube. And to me, that's it's the first real great wireless controller that I ever used. And I always loved the way the GameCube controller felt. And that one's just like, it's like light, and the battery lasts for 90 hours, and the buttons of course still feel good, and I love those triggers, and I just love everything about the GameCube controller, and the Wavebird just sort of improved it and made it this ideal experience. And I eventually got 4 of them, and I love the way the GameCube looked when it had the 4 wireless receivers all plugged in. The rectangle fitting so snugly against one another. It was just fantastic. So yeah, I think the Wavebird is my favorite controller.
I think I will say GameCube controller, but I might just go with the original just because I I do like the rumble and stuff like that, and I do miss it a little bit on the
Sure.
Waybird. I mean, it's still basically the same thing, though. I absolutely love those. Those analog sticks feel so good. If you got a GameCube controller and added an extra left shoulder button and made the sticks clickable, that would basically be the perfect video game controller for me. I even like the setup of the face buttons. I think that's controversial for some people, but it makes it very easy to do like double button presses, like with the A and then B or X or Y. So you're able to very easily kind of have like these additional inputs. Jeff was like, I need to leave, and he thought about saying something, but he's like, no, I'll just leave and then be right back. And he is back. Thank you.
Yep,
Jeff.
I'm back. Sorry about that. My kid just wanted over the fence. Yeah, GameCube controllers are pretty good. I know there's some people who really don't like them. And I guess
Are there?
yeah, there are. But I think it's like
so.
You have to play the Nintendo games, and it just makes so much sense when you're playing the Nintendo games. I remember when on like IGN before the GameCube was coming out, and they would do stuff like try to build the controller based on like what they heard on reports and stuff like that, and they would like make like clay models, and then even before that there was the rumor that there was going to be just one big button that was going to be the one button you always hit, and like Miyamoto was talking about that, and so people were like, hey, it's the win button, and you were just hitting that, and it was just like this big pad with a big green button, and it's kind of like what they ended up doing, but then of course they put the kidney buttons around it and the little blue B button or red B button right next to it, and it was just all that stuff really worked for me. I really like it.
Yeah, I remember it was great in like stuff like Soul Calibur, because Soul Calibur has a lot of like push the two face buttons together at the same time kind of inputs. So Soul Calibur 2, again, it had Link, but also it just worked really well in that GameCube controller form. I remember I was so mad when Soul Calibur 3 was a PlayStation 2 exclusive, Jeff. You have no idea how furious that made me, because everybody liked playing that game on GameCube.
Yep. Yeah, and they came back to GameCube eventually, right?
Well, not on GameCube.
Okay.
No, actually, now I think about it, because after that, it was just the next generation, and
that's right. Okay.
There was that weird Soul Calibur action game for Wii. I bet you forgot about that. That existed.
I completely forgot about that. That is
I forget
bizarre.
what it's even called. But that's a thing. So yeah, they made Soul Calibur for Nintendo again.
Man,
but
I feel like we should go through. Eventually, we should go through all the fighting game spin-off games, like Sub-Zero Mythologies and all that stuff, and whatever this Soul Calibur
Special
one is.
Forces. Yeah, there's a Soul Calibur one. Yeah, I wonder how many of them are good. I feel like not many. Which
Not
is a
many.
shame. Well, Final Fight technically is one, right? And
Yeah,
it's
there you go.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, the Final Fight's good at least. All right. So yeah, I'm gonna say GameCube. You're gonna say GameCube. Those shoulders are so good though. That little click. It still always makes me think of playing Rogue Leader for the first time when it launched.
Absolutely.
And making those S coils.
Even the demo disc, playing that demo disc 100 times, and just being like, this is going to be a great generation. These this feels like such a leap forward. There's so many cool things happening with this controller. Making locking the S foils in attack position. It was just fantastic. And one of my favorite things about the DualSense now is when they do that, when they make the triggers kind of feel like the GameCube triggers. I'm like, oh, this is good. This is remind me of that, and that's pretty neat. And it's nostalgic, but also useful. There was it worked really well in Super Mario Sunshine. Again, not a lot of games would take advantage of that, but when they did, it was good.
Yeah. All right, let's get some answers from our community here. Jayton actually said DK bongos easy peasy. I think he was maybe joking, but I tell you what, remember when they tried to make one of those games on Wii without the bongos, and it wasn't nearly as good anymore?
It was really bad. Yep.
Yeah, so bongos are pretty good. I still have some bongos. They're good stuff. Then we got another jokester here. We got Knuble saying Power Glove. You can play and punch Nazis with it. Probably the most anti-fascist controller out there. All right, is somebody going to say that Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller next? Is that coming soon?
I hope so. So. I've never actually used that. I always wanted to.
Hark the Herald says SNES or Wii U Pro controller. Switch Pro if the D-pad was better. It is not. Jeff, I think I told you this before, but my superpower is not being bothered by these D-pads. I feel like with every controller, I hear people talk about how bad the D-pad is or isn't, and I don't think I've ever had an issue with a D-pad or controller. Some people don't like the PlayStation D-pads at all. I know some people don't like the Switch D-pads. Some people really hate when using a Joy-Con and it's just like the buttons. Again, I've never had an issue with any of that.
I thought I was okay with it, and then I got the Switch OLED, And I was like, man, this is actually bothering me now, like way more than it used to bother me. And it's because I did switch to like a Joy-Con with a D-pad for a long time, and it was nice. But it's like going back to the button D-pad, it was like, this is weird for me. So it is a superpower that you have.
Yeah, thank you. I am very strong. Alex says GameCube controller. I didn't even have one until I got a Wii, but playing Smash and Pokemon XD on that Wavebird GameCube controller was just perfection. Thank you. Oh, I think I missed this one. Low Religion said, I'll always be a sucker for the GameCube controller and still use it for lots of games on the Switch, but I also feel like the Switch Pro controller is the best one overall. I'm seeing a lot of love for the Switch Pro controller. Here's another one, actually. Wildfire Alex, favorite controller is a very recent one, the Switch Pro controller. Finally, Nintendo made a more modern controller without a quirky gimmick. I know there are some that prefer the motion style like the Wii, Wii U, and Switch Joy-Cons, but I am much more grounded and classical style gamer where I would rather let my fingers do all the work. Honorable mentions go to the Super Nintendo controller and the GameCube controller. So yeah, the Switch Pro controller is good, Jeff. I just think it's a little boring. I wish it was something even just in the design that was a little interesting. Like from far away when I'm entering my living room and that and my are just like on the nightstand, like or the end table. Like I can't tell the difference. They just are two like black hunks of controller.
Yeah. And I think we were always going to get to this point eventually where the controllers are just sort of homogenized. And I appreciate Sony trying to do differentiate itself with the stuff it's doing. But the advancements we've made with adding 2 analog sticks and having them placed correctly and having 4 shoulder buttons and some most of the time trigger they're little triggers, analog triggers, but whatever. We got to this point where it's like, this is what gaming's going to be, and that's fine. But you're right, it led to a situation where now you look at the Switch Pro controller and it is just an Xbox controller for the most part.
Veggie Pop says, I think it actually has to be the 3DS, mostly because, to my knowledge, they are the only handle to nail the compact analog stick, which added much needed depth to handheld gaming and allowed older 3D games to be ported to the system. Sure, the Switch has a real analog stick, but it's also prone to stick drift. The bumpers and bumpers get the job done, and the bottom row of start, home, select buttons are all in a very good spot. I think there's serious debate when it comes to standard controllers like GameCube versus Switch Pro. There's no competition in the handheld space. So I think because of that, the 3DS would be recognized for that achievement. The Vita had a pretty decent analog nub. It was like, the problem was it actually stuck out a bit. It basically was an analog stick, really. So I guess the issue there is that it made it less portable because there's no way you're just throwing that thing in a pocket now because you're going to jank up your analog stick. So yeah, I do think like the analog kind of nub thing or slider or whatever you want to call it in the 3DS was very good, and it works very well for a lot of things like Mario 3D Land and even Metal Gear Solid 3 on there.
Is anyone going to say the Circle Pad Pro, Mike?
Circle Pad Pro, man, that thing was weird.
Yep. The Franken 3DS, yeah.
Yeah, not many things use that. I think the Monster Hunter, I think it actually did work with Metal Gear Solid.
I think Resident Evil, one of the Resident Evil Revelations games
did. Yeah, and I'm sure Xenoblade did too. Yeah, that thing was weird. Pinball Jr. says the Zapper. To be honest, it kind of sucks for actually playing games, but it really was fun just to pull the trigger and hear the noise. Probably why I have 20 of them. Still getting support too. Super Russian Roulette is a great homebrew game that uses the Zapper.
Fun. That's neat. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, my grandma would have the Zapper at her house because like she had an NES, she had like Duck Hunt. We played Duck Hunt, but a lot of times I would just keep pulling that controller because it felt really good. Hitting back
the spring in it is really satisfying, absolutely. And it only works with CRTs because you need that flash or that phosphor or whatever to like reflect on the sensor on the thing. But yeah, it was it was really cool. It's neat that there's still homebrew games coming out. I might check that out. I'll have to get a CRT, but I want to get a CRT anyhow. So yeah.
Dapper says the SNES controller. It has the best D-pad and can be used for games on all the handhelds before DS. So yeah, the SNES is pretty classic. Good stuff. Nothing wrong there. First analog sticks. Jeff, what do you like better? Okay, so what do you like better? The SNES controller?
Why'd you say the first analog sticks? No, it's an SNES controller.
I meant shoulder pad.
Okay.
Shoulder
okay. All right, cool.
Thank you. I was like, why is he mad at me? Shoulder. Excuse me. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. What do you like better, the Super Nintendo controller or the Genesis 6-button controller?
Well, I I mean, maybe the Genesis 6-button controller is slightly better because having those 6 face buttons made it like it still works for the kinds of games that you want to play that would like the shoulder buttons would require, but like for fighting games, having the 6 buttons was really, really important and crucial and awesome. And also, I think maybe it's like slightly more rounded and maybe a little bit more comfortable, like a little bit bulkier and better for bigger hands. But I don't know.
It has like the littlest nub of handles on the sides.
And but all that's like the Super Nintendo controller was so light and but also still kind of shaped nice. I never had any complaints with the Super Nintendo controller. I guess I do wish it had 6 face buttons. I do wish that.
I think the Super Nintendo controller is better than the Super Famicom controller. I like the gray purple color scheme so much, and I don't like the goofy multicolor KB Toys color scheme that the Super Famicom
There's nothing
has.
wrong with those colors. I still like
there's something wrong with
gray
it.
and purple better. Nothing wrong
There's
with
something wrong with it.
It's really pretty.
Winnie, featuring Dante from Devil May Cry, says, seconding the 3DS as someone who picked up the system after getting a Switch, it was very comfortable going from one to the other and feels like a nice groundwork for what the Pro Controller and Switch layout would be. Nick Turbo says, well, I'm not the hugest fan of my Nintendo controller, of any Nintendo controller, excuse me. I did like the Wii U gamepad. It was the first, it was a Nintendo controller that felt most like a regular controller, and the touchscreen was a great way to display a map or manage inventory. Yeah, like, gosh, that thing is so weird. There was like, conceptually, I liked it. I remember the weight of it was off. For something that had this screen on it, it felt almost too light and made it feel cheap and kind of weird. Again, the screen quality wasn't very great. Like that definitely wasn't an LED screen. That's for sure.
Well, an OLED screen. I mean, it wasn't LED.
OLED, yeah, whatever.
It was LCD. You're probably right. It probably wasn't LED actually. Now that you mention it, yes.
I meant OLED. You're correct again. I'm just Jeff. I'm blowing it left and right. I'm sorry.
Piece of shit.
Forgive me. Yeah, I know. Durbo Sean says, I love the Switch Pro controller. My big hands appreciate the shape being a nice in-between of the Xbox and DualSense controllers. The D-pad isn't perfect, but it was good enough for me to beat a playthrough of Zero Mission recently with no problems. I think everything else is fantastic. Good buttons, sticks with grippy rubber tops. People love grippy rubber tops, I'll tell you what. And a battery that lasts a week or more. Maybe it's the fighting game player in me, but I really like that ZL and ZR are buttons instead of analog triggers. Personally, I never liked trigger gimmicks and find Xbox's trigger rumble and the DualSense's haptics and adaptive triggers overbearing. Having to try harder to press the button and my index fingers vibrating never immerses me into a game. It usually annoys me to the point of turning them off. I'm never really bothered by any of that stuff. I don't miss it as much as I might think I would when I'm playing on a Switch Pro controller, though.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm pretty similar. I don't notice even when the triggers are resisting me, like in the middle in like heated combat. I'm just pulling the triggers as hard as I can and not even think about it and not noticing, it's trying to stop me to be like, the trigger's jammed or whatever. Like, it's just all kind of, you just push through it or whatever. But I do like the response that is in the triggers. Like when the triggers like have feedback to let you know what's happening, like with your button press. So when the response is informative, and this, I definitely think of like the Forza Motorsport games where
which one?
Right. Any of the Forza Motorsport games that came out on Xbox One that had that adaptive rumble in it, that it's like
it does feel very good.
Yeah, and it's like you could tell when you're about to spin out, and so it's like, I gotta pull off the trigger so I don't end up like tail whipping around, or like you could feel the tires gripping on the ground, and it's like I like that stuff, but. All that said, I get it. When I'm playing on the Switch and it doesn't have any of that stuff, I'm fine.
Donovan Fair says, straight up, the SNES controller is best, and anyone that says otherwise needs to get their head examined. An honorable second place goes to the GameCube controller, which is surprisingly comfortable and a welcome upgrade after the Nintendo 64 monstrosity.
I'm changing my answer, Mike.
No, someone else is going to defend in the 64 controller. You don't have to.
Okay, thank you.
You can stay on the side of reason.
I like the N64 controller. It's fine.
Yeah, you'll get a moment to talk about it in a bit here. Zach M says, fueled wholly by nostalgia, but the NES controller, 2 buttons, a D-pad, start and select in a simple rectangular shape. They made much better controllers since, and there were much better controllers around in that era of gaming overall. Sega fanboy, so I love the Mega Drive. But the memory of sitting next to my grand's little kid with that controller in my hand as we worked through Mario together makes that controller my favorite Nintendo controller, and potentially overall. Yeah, there is something about the NES controller with its just hard edges. It's aesthetically very pleasing. I love those little, like, I don't know, lines, the great lines everywhere.
Yeah, it's
Like
it's a cool thing. Like when they release like a 3DS that uses the NES controller aesthetics and stuff, it's like,
Yes,
oh, it's
it's
very
great.
good. Yes, I like that controller a lot.
Yeah, and they made like the better one when they made the top loader that was basically more like an SNES controller with like the circle, and like it was more comfortable. But I also would never prefer it.
Yep, same.
Uh, Nintendo Bro says my favorite controller is by far the Wavebird. While I missed having Rumble, I was totally okay with having wireless functionality instead. I can finally play GameCube games while sitting on the top bunk on the other side of the room, and that was the coolest thing ever to me. Yeah, I remember I could actually adjust my TV in a way that I could look at my TV from my bathroom in my room with the Wavebird. I remember that blowing my mind, or even just playing it in bed. It was pretty nuts. And
Someone mentioned there's the
channels.
print ad of that. Yeah, the print ad where you could like.
Oh, that's right. They literally did that.
Did that thing? Yeah. Are you
I think that's why I
conflating your
tried
life? Are you? Yeah, I think Mike. Honestly, I think I tried it too, and I'm like, oh man, the game's backwards in the mirror. I can't do this.
No, I don't think I'm conflating it because my TV is on a little swivel and I could actually just turn it to face my bathroom door. So
I did the same thing. So yeah, we got a super chat answer. Is it okay if I read that real quick before we get to Giggy?
Sure.
Yeah, from Nostalgia Gaming, my favorite Nintendo controller is the N64, despite it being unwieldy. I like the color scheme, the unique shape, and the trigger. I can't see myself being nostalgic for a Pro controller in 20 years. That's a good point. Like, I'm going to forget the Pro controller.
That's what I'm saying, because it has no personality. It feels very good and it's functional. And people forget there was a Pro controller on the Wii and even the Wii U that were like similar, right?
Yep.
So, you know, Giggy here also has something to say about 64. So let's bring this up. Then we'll talk about that a bit. No one is going to say it. Fine. I like the Nintendo 64 controller. I think it's a neat piece of hardware engineering and works the best at what it does, playing Nintendo 64 games. But for real, I think the weird and obtuse design of it is pretty cool, and the analog stick works great for 3D platformers, racing games, and flight space shooters. Even some FPS games work surprisingly well when utilizing the C buttons for movement like WASD. I also like the use of swapping out other peripherals such as the Rumble Pack for certain games. I think people hate on it because it's just too weird for them. I mean, I appreciate the Nintendo 64 controller. It did like try something different. Conceptually, it made a lot of sense. I think everybody that first time they grabbed one did that thing where they like held it like a normal controller and like tried to stretch their thumb to the analog stick and then realized that there was that other little nub there you're supposed to grab on.
Not me. I remember seeing the pictures right away and like,
oh well, you're a super genius.
You know, not a super genius. I just was obsessed with Nintendo as a kid. So it was like I knew like everything about the N64 before it came out, and when I first saw it at Toys R Us, I had seen enough pictures of like Shigeru Miyamoto showing people like you hold it at the center to control the analog stick, and I'm like, man, analog move it, and I just went right up to it and held it the way you're supposed to hold it, and I was like, oh, this is great, and that's how I felt about it ever since. Like I'm just like, oh, this is so great. Now, obviously, it wasn't the ideal design because you want to have the D-pad and the analog stick next to each other so you could use both in certain games, but. For that first attempt, it was very neat, and it worked great for Nintendo games, like Giggy said.
Yes, exactly. Matt OK kind of said, playing a few minutes of Mario 64 with the wireless Nintendo 64 controller reminded me that the game's camera is perfectly fine when you're using it as originally intended. Yeah, I think if you ever want to get me mad, just complain about the Mario 64 camera to me, because it's completely fine.
Yep,
it's not a big deal.
And like I get it, like with people, and when it moves to a stick, it's a little bit more confusing because it's not the C buttons. But just give yourself 5 minutes, you'll be okay.
Gerbear says probably the Wavebird because it let me use a GameCube while being a reasonable distance from the TV. If they had it cheapened out on the GameCube controller and given it a cable shorter than my attention span, then I'd have said that. The DK Bongo controllers were great as well, but they only got to one great game. Hey, Donkey Konga was okay. I mean, it's a little simple as far as music games go, but I like Donkey Konga. Juggle Beat is better. I'll give Donkey Kong a little love. Mr. Hot Take says, also, GameCube controller is the best controller ever made. The clicky triggers is just the best feeling. Yes, I agree with that. I love that clicky. Jeff, those are all of our answers here. I think we got one super chat question earlier that we should read before we go on to what we've been playing.
Yes. So, well, before that, anything else to say about any Nintendo controllers? We pretty much covered them all.
Yeah, that really. I'm trying to think. Like, well, who got absolutely no? Like, no one says the Wii, right? No one is nostalgic for Waggle yet.
Yeah.
I think that's coming. Give it another
Yeah.
10 years, maybe.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is, you know, like, are you aware of that, like, 90s fashion is coming back? It is back. So, like, among, like, TikTok or, like, young kids on TikTok, there's, like, a whole cottage industry of, like, shopping for vintage clothes, and vintage means, like, mom jeans and, like, the stuff, basically whatever you would wear to Disney World in the 1990s, that's what's popular right now.
Are the collar shirts with, like, a lot of different colored, like, stripes coming back? Good.
Yeah, so and just like printed T-shirts, but like not with anything cool on it, but like, you know, 1996 world championship bowls, and it has like cartoon characters of all the team like members and stuff like that. Look.
A lot of Looney Tunes.
Yeah, a lot of Looney Tunes. Exactly. Tweety Bird, very, very. So I think what's going to happen is there's going to be a generation that never grew up with the Wii that is going to go back to it and be like, this rules. This is what gaming always should have become. And I think that's going to happen before the nostalgia for the Wii actually comes back.
You might be right. That could happen. Man, I hope 90s logo design is what actually comes back. I'm tired of all these super flat, uninteresting logos.
Yeah, flat design needs to go away. We've lived with it for long enough. Let's go back to some stuff with some character. I agree.
Yeah,
I'm actually
in depth.
I'm sick of it. I'm emailing Nintendo and I'm asking them if they can get me an N64 controller because it keeps selling out. I would buy it, but it keeps selling out. So I'm just like, please just.
Is that what you're really doing in the middle of the episode because you know you're gonna forget?
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
All right. Great. Oh my God! Don't forget to say please and thank yous.
No, and thank you
and
for your time.
Wow, you're very polite, Jeff. I hope those guys find out that you're asking for free stuff again, and then say something weird about your kids.
Yes, yeah, me too. That's a good way to spend my day. All right, you're right, Mike. We do got one other super chat that I should read here. Let's see, it's actually blocked by this pen, so you know what, and that's because I'm using YouTube instead of Stream Elements, like Mike will yell at me for it. So let's go to Stream Elements, where Victor Martinez says, glad It Takes Two is coming to Game Pass. Really hope it comes to Switch somehow. It's my game of the year and best co-op game since Portal 2. That's, yeah, a lot of high praise for this game. A lot of people could say it's game of the year. I need to play it.
Very good.
You know what?
I think it's a game that kind of needs 60 FPS because it's such a kind of precision-y 3D platformer in a lot of ways.
That you know what? During my chunk of the extra live stream, which is this Saturday, everybody, or I think it's this Saturday, right? November 6th is Saturday. Yes. Wait, is that right? Yes, that's right.
Second.
Sorry, I looked at the calendar and I saw the 6th, and it was a Monday, but that's December. Yeah. So I think during that I will play It Takes Two.
Calendar. Shit, I have to change mine.
Oh yeah, very exciting. So Mike's gonna go change his Star Trek calendar. Everybody.
See, we got this random.
The chair's kind of in the way, so we can. No, it kept moving, so we could see.
Oh, all right. This looks nice. Oh, very cool. Oh, look, it's like a Star Trek museum, and it's
a little bit like a penis.
Cochrane's Phoenix.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
So is that from Cochrane invented warp drive for those unaware, as seen in Star Trek First Contact.
That's true. There we go. Yeah, I think I blocked a lot of that with my chair, but in my giant body. But there it is.
We can see it now. No, it's all good. It's all good.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. The Phoenix just looks like a picture of a dodo on my wall right now.
Yeah, it's what it definitely does. It, but hey, well, I mean, what is a spaceship other than a giant space dildo? Wow. Okay, Mike, that does it for the super chats for now. If anyone else wants to send one in, we'll get to it before the end of the show.
Oh, no, look at that. We got another super chat.
From KDK7, the Wiimote worked amazingly well for games like Metroid, The Conduit, and Resident Evil 4.
Resident Evil 4 especially. That's still my... I haven't played a lot of these, like, newer versions of Resident Evil 4 just because I had so much fun with that Wii version, actually.
Mm-hmm. You're definitely not wrong. I think the thing with the Wiimote is we have gotten the future of Waggle, and it's all the VR controllers, and really VR itself, being able to move the headset around in 3D space and have it tracked exactly. That is what Waggle turned into, and it's great in VR. And the Oculus Quest 2 is pretty successful, and a new version of Resident Evil 4 is out now there, and you're basically controlling it with even more intense Waggle design, and it's working great. So yeah, it's still here, it's still with us. It's just like TV gaming went back and forked back to what it was before, and then motion control went off into this other direction. But yeah, very good point.
All right, Jeff, you named this episode after Pikmin Bloom. Maybe you should talk about that now a little bit.
Mike, I've been playing Pikmin Bloom, and it is it's good. It's a nice thing to do when you're walking. If you want an excuse to go walking, I think Pikmin Bloom is a very good companion app for that. It is not like Pokemon Go, where it's like you're going out to play Pokemon Go. With Pikmin Bloom, you're going out to walk still. And along the way, you are going to be doing a few other things in this game to make your walk a little bit more interesting. And the primary stuff there is planting flowers and then finding special items to send your Pikmin out to go get on expeditions. And then there's a few like special areas on the map that are like, oh, if you like, the park has a sign that says what the park is. Well, Niantic, the company that makes Pokemon Go and Pikmin Bloom, has that stuff in their database, and so they set up like a special big flower that if you plant enough little flowers around, it will turn into something bigger. And I haven't been able to do that yet. You're supposed to work together with the community, and I'm in the suburbs.
Well, you don't like working together with anybody. So.
I don't like, but it's like this is a game where you can't help it, right? Like, so it's like if other people are playing, you would just all be contributing to this because it's all in a shared public space. But in the suburbs, there's not a ton of people playing. I've seen pictures of people playing in Manhattan, and it's just the entire city is covered in flowers, and that's really cool. But with this, it's like, okay, maybe someone else might start playing, and if they see that I'm planting flowers, maybe that will encourage them to keep doing it. And that's the point. It's very cooperative. It is very much like we are all just working together to cover the world in flowers, and that's neat. Now, like on a personal level, like what you're working on is like getting as many Pikmin as possible and getting enough of them so that if you do have, like you get done with your walk, you go back home, and if you were able to get a couple of Pikmin, you'll grow them by putting them in a pot, walking for 1,000 steps. Very similar to Pikmin or Pokemon Go. But once you have those Pikmin and you're sitting at home, well, there's still stuff you could do with them. Like you can look around your house and you can see that there's like 12 or 15 things you could send them out to go get, and if you have more Pikmin, they'll be able to get that stuff more quickly, and so it's like it kind of increases the rate of that you're accomplishing those processes. But overall, it's just sort of a chill experience that I am. Whenever I go for a walk, I am doing it. It tracks where you went. It shows you like where you've planted the flowers. You can plant different colored flowers, and if you plant like blue flowers next to white flowers, different things will happen. And yeah, I like it. But I also really like Pikmin, so I just enjoy spending time with like those characters and seeing them next to me, and then sending them off on expeditions, and then they wave goodbye to me, and my character waves bye to them, and then they come back 2 minutes later, and it's just pleasant. I don't necessarily think this is going to be the kind of thing that's going to take over the world. I don't think it needs to, though. It could just be Pikmin. It could just be this little thing off to the side that some people are into and most people are ignoring. I don't think it needs to be Pokemon Go to succeed.
Sure. Yeah, I'm interested just because you say it is more about the walking, so that sounds kind of pleasant to me. Like I got a little bit with the Pokemon Go thing, it was fun for a bit, especially when I was walking around with a lot of friends, but like I wasn't gonna go by myself and walk around and collect Pokemon too much.
Yeah, and it's like I want to be walking more anyhow. I'd like to go for a walk every day if possible. This is just another thing to like encourage you to do that. There's a lot of apps out there like that. This is just another one of those, and it's one that will appeal to people who are fans of Nintendo or Pikmin, and I think that's wonderful. So I'm gonna try to stick with it. It's probably gonna be something where, I might forget to turn it on for one walk or whatever, but I'm not going to feel too bad about it because it's not like I'm going to get left behind in this competition with other players. And it's not like I'm going to lose control of this Pokestop or something like that. It's not like that. It's not punitive in any way if you fall behind. It's just like you stop contributing to the whole a little bit. And when you come back, it's like no harm, no foul. It's just now you're back and you're planting flowers and helping everyone else. It's cool. It's neat. It doesn't make you feel bad, like, oh, like you look at all those flowers other people are planting. Well, you can't do anything with that stuff. Like, look how like you just have this small area. It doesn't like punish you for any of that stuff. It's just very nice, and yeah, I'm digging it.
All right, Jeff, what else have you been playing?
I played a little bit of Mario Party Superstars, and I think this is it's still Mario Party, and it's still a situation where if you are doing like a really long turn with like with 30 turns with 4 players, and you get near to the end of it, and you're losing, it could kind of get miserable pretty quickly, because it's like you just feel like you're in this hole and you're not going to get out. And like, of course, things could change last minute, but still, that last hour it could be miserable. But I still think it might be the ideal of what Mario Party should be, especially online. So it has full online support. It works really well. The boards are kind of the classical N64 boards, and
Right.
most of those are very good. I think they've done some changes and some upgrades to them. A couple things where it's like it might feel like the economy is out of whack a little bit, where there are so many like lucky spots where people are getting a lot of coins that you never are forced in a situation. You're rarely forced into a situation where you come across a star and you don't have enough money and you have to like decide.
Those are always kind of fun though. Yeah.
No, you're right. It's like it's not like, this is still just about having a good time and competing with friends and sort of like making alliances and stuff like that. And all that stuff is still there, and it works maybe better than it has in a very long time, and better than it ever has online. And to me, it's like, okay, this is going to be the Mario Party game that sort of exists, and like that people are going to go back to for a very long time, and I think it's going to end up being a pretty big success for Nintendo. I haven't played online with other people very much. I just did a small quick game and wasn't able to complete it, but I think we're probably going to play this one as well during Extra Life when we are overlapping. So we should actually give like the time. So that's going to start at 6 a.m. Eastern, or whenever I wake up that morning, basically. And then, but like, because that's going to be very early for me. I'm going to try to do my best to hit that time. But at 6 p.m. Eastern time, Mike's going to come online, and I'm going to stick around, and we'll probably play Mario Party and maybe a few other things. But
yeah,
we'll do a round of Mario Party, and so yeah, and then after that, maybe we could write a review about the game. But so far, I mean, I think if anyone's ever liked a Mario Party game, this is probably the new one to get. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more interested in this than the last one, which did very well.
Yes.
I know, and people liked it, but I just, I like that Nintendo 64 style a bit more.
Yeah,
What I really liked was Mario Party 4 on the GameCube. That'd be fun.
Yeah, and this is like Mario Party 1, 2, and 3, and it even asks you, like, when you start it up, like, pick your favorite Mario Party of these three, and it's like, okay, and like you're like putting this stuff on an online card that people could see about you, and like, so they know which one's your favorite Mario Party. I don't know what it does beyond
That's funny.
that.
That reminds me of Metal Gear Solid 3 would like ask you, do you like Metal Gear Solid 1 or Metal Gear Solid 2? I think even Metal Gear Solid 4 would ask you which one of the first three did you like more. That's funny.
I don't know what that's actually accomplishing, but whatever. Yeah, I do wonder if like this could serve as a platform when they bring in stuff like Mario Party 4 stuff, but we'll see. Even if it doesn't, I bet this game's going to do very well as well. I wonder if it's going to match like Mario Party, whatever the last one was called. Because that sold 15 million copies. Is this going to sell like 10 million copies? If it does, that'd be very good still, I think. But will it? And if it does that change Nintendo's perspective about releasing multiple versions of the same series on one platform? And does it maybe increase the chance that we get Mario Kart 9 or something? I don't know. We'll see. Either way, I think this game's going to do just fine. But that's it for me, Mike. You got anything?
Yeah, just a little bit. First, Schaefer had brought in his answer for favorite controller a little bit after we started, but I can read it now. He said the best controller is the one that nobody expects, the Wii U gamepad. It has both thumbsticks in the ideal place. It's very ergonomic. The buttons will have a great feel to them. It's got some weight to it. And the screen, while a bit gimmicky, is pretty cool when games use it well. It's awesome. I can't get over how badly Nintendo dropped the ball when it comes to thumbstick placement on the Switch. They had it perfect on the Wii U. You could rest your thumbs naturally on both of them. It was the perfect controller. Also, shout out to the GameCube Resident Evil 4 chainsaw controller. What a wonderfully stupid thing. I knew somebody was going to bring it up. There it is.
I do like the Wiimote, the Wii U Wii U gamepad. Yes, I like that. I do.
I remember liking it most actually for like Wind Waker. It really was nice. Like, oh, I never have to open up my inventory screen. That's kind of nice. Mm-hmm. Like again, like once I have to do that again, it's not a very big deal, but it was pretty cool when I didn't.
We didn't do the thing. Like I wish I would have done the thing that like I just saw Imran Khan and Rebecca do this thing where they put two TVs and consoles right next to each other in the family room, and they could just do whatever they want next to each other. We never did that with me and my wife, and so I'm looking for ways to play games while we're also watching TV, and the Wii U was very good for that, and so I used it for that more than anything else. So I played most of the games like handheld, even with the Wii U, and like so when the Switch came around, it was like, okay, this is perfect. But the Wii U worked for me in that circumstance a lot of times as well. So.
All right. I didn't play too much this week, really, on my Switch. I was actually playing a lot of stuff on my PlayStation 4 this week, if you can believe it. But on Halloween night, I did play a little Luigi's Mansion 3. Basically just ran around a floor for a bit and goofed around just to kind of, just because it was Halloween. I tell you what, that is definitely one of the best looking Switch games still. That really impressive stuff there. I'm really excited to see what Next Level does next. I bet it will be Next Level. And then I played like a level of Castlevania Bloodlines for the same thing because again it's on the Genesis Switch stuff now. Even though I already had it on the other Castlevania collection, so it's like all right, I'll play some Castlevania.
Yeah,
Bloodlines.
the Genesis version's better though.
What? What do you mean?
Well, Bloodlines is you said you played it on the Genesis collection, right?
So I had it. So I already have it on. Konami made a Castlevania collection for Switch.
Right. Okay.
Has like
I'm thinking of the other one.
Castlevania 4, and now it's also on Nintendo Switch Online. So
right.
I think they both play about the same. They're both
no, I think it's the same version in both. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's the same version. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
That game only ever came out on the Genesis.
Okay. I'm mixing up with the other one. Yeah. What's the one that's in the Advanced Collection?
Oh, you're thinking of what Dracula X is to Rondo of Blood.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Yes,
you Castlevania idiot.
Yes, just a child, just a small brain
of human,
just
garbage.
Basically, a child's brain in a man's body. It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
absolutely,
I know.
For everybody. Yeah,
Castlevania Bloodlines is good, and it was fun to play. And that one I kind of want to play a little bit more of. Again.
I also played Pumpkin Jack, so like to go with your theme here of like Halloween games. Yeah. That's on the Switch, and it was on sale, and I got it. And it's it's an Unreal game that they definitely turned down the resolution really hard. So, and I played it on the PC before at like 4K with DLSS and RTX and all this stuff. So it's a little bit hard to look at, but it's fine, and it's the kind of game where you can kind of hand it off to a kid, and it's basic enough that I think they'd probably have a really good time. But also, I think it's got enough going on that I was enjoying it as well. It's one of those ones where it's like, I bet every Halloween that game's going to resurface and people are going to go back to it because it's a really good sort of one of those spooky games that's well themed for Halloween. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty much it for me, Jeff. I'll tell you what, I'm hungry. I need to go vote. Local elections, all that jazz. So I think we can start wrapping things up here. Jeff, where can people find you?
Jeff Grubb on Twitter. Join our Discord, discord.gg/GameMess. Come hang out there. I just did a Discord stage Q&A to end October. That is only for people who support the Patreon or our supporters on my Twitch page and a few other things. But basically, if you are one of those, there's a link to figure out whatever, like the way to get in it. If you join the Discord and go to the welcome page, it's all right there. And it's in the Patreon feed. So if you have the RSS feed set up, you'll be able to get that and still listen to that.
I am Tolkoto on Twitter. Check out the newest episode of 90s Disney, my 90s Disney podcast, which is about the sci-fi dine-in theater restaurant. The only restaurant in Disney World where you can watch people getting stabbed on a giant screen while you eat. Very fun.
You said something wrong on that episode, and I was like, man, I'm going to give him a hard time about it.
I said, what's it about movies? What's it about movies? I don't know anything about movies.
Bye, everybody.